switched between, especially in New Zealand, have switched between completely remote working and getting back to the office. Our focus from Microsoft's perspective is to enable our customers and partners to really be able to work no matter where they're sitting at and with whichever devices they're using. And really be able to present and consume content easily, no matter what device they're using, and whether they're on a meeting, on a webinar like this, or even on a large-scale event. And obviously, the focus on security, compliance, everything will still remain. Any functionality we bring out to Office 365 from a security and compliance perspective will get integrated into Microsoft Teams as well. So that's always a given, and that's something we continue to keep making available for our customers. Next slide, please. All right, so what's new in Teams for Ignite? So we made a whole bunch of announcements in Ignite. I didn't want to go through every one of them this call, mostly because I'm pretty sure that if you look at the slide deck I send you later, you'll be able to go through them one by one. But what I wanted to do was spend a little bit of time on the latest ones that are available and that have been launched. I can definitely say it gets a little difficult to keep track of which ones get launched and which ones get delayed. So I thought I'd spend the next 8 minutes or so just telling you what got launched, what's available today, and if there's anything new and worth you keeping track of. So I can say definitely that the gallery view has been launched. I don't know if you're seeing the screen today right now. Sorry, gallery. So basically you're able to have dynamic viewing in terms of content that gets presented. I'm not sure if it's getting reflected on your end, so I'll just hold on to that. Onto the highlighted bits, there's meeting recap that's been launched recently in March. So this is a feature, you will have noticed this, that when a meeting ends, the content from the meeting as well as the video recording, so meeting notes and recording gets flashed up right at the end, as well as the transcript and the shared files. So you'll notice that happening within the chat tab, and the details for each meeting are then made available. So instead of me having to scroll all the way up for a recording inside the chat, it now gets displayed right at the end, which makes it so much more easier for me to go back and grab content. Onto the second highlighted bit. So there's a new gallery view in Teams Rooms. This is really, let me just check what I was writing. Yeah, gallery view is basically, it's the ability for everyone in the conversation to be able to see all the meetings participants. I think we've been talking about this for a while. It got launched, it got taken to GA back in February. That's available along with Together Mode. There's also Teams panels launched in March. If you hadn't seen the updates around this, is basically a new category of devices. It can be devices mounted outside of a meeting room, and it allows customers to streamline space management. So an example of this would be that users or our customers would be able to go to this panel, view meeting room details, reserve the space, or even view upcoming meeting rooms and check if the room's available at this point in time. There's also the facility for a user to be able to view a building's floor plan and see if there's another room nearby that they can use. Onto the last one, that's Cortana and Bing Skills. I haven't tried this out personally, but I'm really looking forward to it. That launched in April. Basically, it's the ability for an end user to leverage on Cortana and Bing Skills it's basically an integration for them to be able to ask simple questions that you usually ask Cortana, like what's the stock price for a certain stock index, or what's the time in a different market, for example. So I haven't given this a try. I'm looking forward to it. But I saw it in the updates as I was preparing for this meeting today. Note that there's a link at the bottom of the slide. It's a Microsoft Teams roadmap. That's where I personally go and check when I need to do a presentation just like this for you, just to see if there are any new functionalities that I need to be kept aware of as well. I think this helps everyone stay on the same page, and you can always refer customers to the same site as well, because obviously they'll be coming to you with questions on when features are launching, and that's a great single source of truth for everyone to be across. Can we go to the next slide, please, Isaac? Great. So another set of functionality. So you notice that we have quite a few pillars we're driving towards. Calling is a very central pillar that will be focusing on for the next fiscal year. And so there's a bunch of announcements around calling and Power Platform and Teams rooms and such. Primarily because we're focusing a lot on the employee experience, a lot on the workplace setting itself and the management of it all. So a couple of announcements I want to take you through here. Not a couple, more like 4. So very quickly, there is the ability for us to enable voice-enabled channels. This was launched back in March. Basically, it's a collaborative calling functionality that enables end users, or rather our customers' end users, to connect a call queue to a channel within Teams. This means users can collaborate and share information within the channel itself while taking calls within the call queue that's sitting inside the channel. Great for IT help desks, HR hotlines, that sort of scenario. And IT admins can quickly connect call queues to a specific channel, and the team owners can manage the settings around that. So something for you to give a try. In terms of Azure Communication Services, now this hasn't launched yet, but it's super important for you to be across. It's coming in May, and you can definitely talk to your customers about this. I know we've been doing this in Singapore. Basically, it's a service that allows you to deliver a better customer experience by easily connecting users of a custom-built application with users on Microsoft Teams via voice, video, or chat. I'd recommend you go read up a little bit on this, but what I do know is that it opens up a lot of new scenarios using Teams. So for example, I think one of our customers in Singapore absolutely found this useful for a telehealth application. So yes, on to the device management and provisioning. The very simple message here, basically tenant admins will be able to remotely provision and sign into all their Teams Android devices from the Teams admin center, and then manage the provisioning from that end. So Android's now easily manageable, in other words. And then the last one I wanted to bring up was the Teams low data mode. This got launched in March. So it's really us enabling the frontline workers. We know that a lot of retail staff or even manufacturing staff are sometimes in areas with not great Wi-Fi or internet connectivity. And so there's a low data mode available now. So it's a matter of either wanting to preserve data in a location with poor or limited network connection. And sometimes it's just useful to be able to get Teams working especially on video calls in low data situations. So that's also launched, available in March, and now a setting that's in action today. That's about it for me. Thank you, Isaac, for getting me on this call. I will share the larger deck with Isaac, and he can share that out with you as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anne, for your time and for updates on Teams from Ignite 2021. I'll now just hand it over to Venus, who will give us updates from the Surface Sphere, as she likes to call it.
Awesome. Thanks, Isaac. Kia ora, everyone. I'm Venus, and I am a Surface specialist. So my update was updates in the Surface Sphere, and then I kind of thought about it and thought, the only thing we've really had recently come through is the Surface Laptop 4. So without further ado, I'll take you through the new device, the Laptop 4, have a bit of a chat about what some of the differences are, and yeah, we can go from there. So I'll quickly share my screen over here. Alrighty. See that all roll over. Wonderful. So, Surface Laptop 4, very recent release for us, something that I've been super excited about for a very long time. But if we do open up and kind of look at the landscape of how things have been running, and even, you know, prior to COVID, this was sort of the way that we could see some of the trends that were happening in the market at the moment in terms of devices. So obviously with a lot more different types of devices coming into the fold, you're looking at more complex IT environments with the management of different devices. So with devices that are going to be working away from the office and cell phones, and then you've got Internet of Things and all of this stuff kind of coming into accord. How can an IT organization ensure that you're managing these in the best way possible? And from management, you're also looking at that provisioning piece as well. So how are you provisioning and deploying your devices and ensuring that you're giving your end users a really good experience, but you're not sacrificing any of those security components. We all know what it's like if we go into an org and there's so many things that are locked down and it can kind of prevent you from being productive. So how do you find that balance between ensuring that your devices are secure, but employees are also able to share content and do things that allow them to be more productive? The other main thing I think is also looking at how teams are working nowadays. So you've got this whole flexible work, being more productive. How can you ensure that, you know, you've got more people working from home as well? We want to ensure that our employees are able to work from wherever they need to go or wherever they need to be. So taking that into account from a device perspective as well. So making sure you're not having things that are super heavy. What if you've got a big commute? Where do you like to work? Is it from your couch? Is it from your bed? Is it from the office? Is it on the bus? So, you know, you've got all these different things that you do consider and that we consider when we are building our devices. So just a bit of an overview as to what trends we do take into account when we're looking at these types of things. And a very quick history of Surface. So Surface Pro came out when I was in year 12 in high school. Never owned one back then, but that was our flagship product. And that's what we kind of started off with, was the Surface Pro. And I think in the Surface space, we've always been known as being quite innovative. If you look at our next release, the Surface Book just won over. This is a high performing device. We introduced things like the hinge where you can actually detach the screen on this device as well, allowing you to utilize it in a bunch of different ways. And then after the Surface Book, we also released the Surface Laptop 3, Surface Laptop range. So we're up to the Laptop 4 now. We've come quite a long way. And this one is definitely a favourite that I do see amongst a lot of customers. It's one of my favourites as well. Super slim device, really easy to use. And of course, you've got that inking capability and touch screen as well, which really helps in terms of different ways of being productive and how you want to utilise those devices. And then finally, we get to the Laptop 4, which we're going to have a quick chat about today and some of the features and differences there. Laptop Go also came into the mix last year. A little bit confusing. You've got Surface Go, which is the little portable device, and then Surface Laptop, which is the one I'm chatting about today, and Laptop Go is kind of a mix of the two in between. But essentially that's our lower cost kind of device that we've been able to tee up as well. So this device here, the Laptop Go, you're still getting really powerful performance. You can still get your i5-8256 memory and everything like that. It's just a little bit less optimized in terms of the Laptop 4's got a couple more other features. So yeah, just explaining the difference between those two there as well, because there is so much in the market at the moment. So rolling through, when we are looking at the Surface Laptop, there are a couple of different things that we do keep in mind. I'll just flip between all the slides there. So with battery life and processing power, obviously, we understand that people are going to be on the go a lot more often. Battery is a very important component of our existence and how we do like to work. Processing power, equally important. You don't want things freezing when you're flicking between tabs and all that type of stuff. So ensuring that we have devices that we can provide for people across all different types of work scenarios. And so when we're looking at the Surface Laptop and Surface Laptop 4 in particular, so you're getting a lot faster performance. I will go into the different chipsets that we do have this time around, which is a big difference between Laptop 4 and Laptop 3. But with this latest iteration, you are getting 70% faster performance across that device compared to the Laptop 3. In terms of things like video calls and studio mics and speakers as well, we understand that a lot of the work that you are doing may be in different types of places. You may not always have a headset with you. We want to ensure that all of those key components of video calling that will keep you engaged with people are key to our Surface experience. So you're looking at things like a quality video, really clear speakers if you don't happen to have headphones, really clear mics, and then speakers as well. So being able to clearly hear the people that you're conversing with. And then here comes the magic. We've got more choice. So this is a key difference between Laptop 3 and Laptop 4. We've actually got two different chipsets on offer. Reason being for that is just catering to different people's needs or within organisations. You've obviously got the Intel chipset on one side, and then you've got the AMD, which is a specific Microsoft Surface chipset on the other. And being completely transparent as well, we all know that there is a chip shortage at the moment. So obviously kind of looking forward and building our supplier relationships in terms of that as well. Allows us to provide, I guess, a better sort of supply positioning. If anyone's trying to get devices or looking at things like Teslas or anything with a chip at the moment, there are a lot of supply constraints. So this is kind of us making sure that we're building those partnerships whilst also offering other choices to our customers. And then from the style perspective as well, style is very important to myself, and I love that about Surface. They're actually super cool, so look really nice, really slim devices, really easy to just slip into your bag. So we've got two different sizes, the 13.5 or 15-inch. So depending on what type of laptop you prefer, I've got the 13-inch, fits nicely in my bag, and it's super light to carry around as well. We've also got optimized performance with the thermal cooling aspect of the device too, so it's not roaring in your ear or being Darth Vader. That's what people used to call my previous device that I had when I was at uni, where it's just being really loud and it sounds like it's struggling with your workload. These devices are nice and quiet as well. And so when we're looking at the colours of the device and the finishes too, we've got a few different colour sets. So with the 13-inch, you can see just on the left-hand side there, we've got a few different colours, and the 15-inch we've got black or silver as well. For the circles, that is Alcantara material. So you may have seen with our Surface laptops, we do offer a material or metal finish option. I personally love Alcantara. Everyone's a little bit different. The ones in this image showcase the Alcantara material there as well. And with the Alcantara material finish, there is an extra coating that has come on these devices so that when you are utilising it all the time, it will withstand the test of time. I've had my Alcantara device for over a year now, and it's in really good condition. And just a little size comparison, I'm very conscious of time, just quickly jumping through. Some of the important connections. So we do have a USB-C and USB-A, so one of each. We've got longer battery life as well, so depending on which chipset you do go for, you've got some differentiation there. And just the classic sort of Windows features. So you're looking at things like Instant On, where you pull open your device and it's just there. You have Windows Hello password-free sign-in, so you just do your biometrics and it signs you right in. So no sort of barrier in terms of getting into the workspace. And once you start using one of the premium devices, you definitely see a difference when you take a step back. It's really, it's a really cool feature. And then of course from the security aspect as well. So with the Surface devices, you've got that whole deployment and management piece. So all the way down to the firmware layer where you can manage your devices with Endpoint Manager, DFCI, or Windows Autopilot. So when we do take into consideration the fact that we as Microsoft create these devices from the ground up, We have our own firmware that we use on the devices rather than BIOS. So different things like that come into play when you're looking at security as well. Cool. And that's just an overview of some specs, but just quickly to the final slide, you've also got your Surface accessories that we've got coming through also. So there are a whole bunch of accessories that you can look into in terms of utilising your Surface device. So most recently we've had the headphones 2, we've got Surface earbuds, and yeah, the Dock 2, that's a recent addition as well. And finally, to close off, these are just some of the different partners that we work with in terms of the other Surface accessories, so third party that do cases and screens and all of the other whatnot. So definitely worth taking into consideration. And with that, I think I hit 11 minutes for about, I think it was about 15 slides. So yeah, thank you all very much. And yeah, thanks.
I've got one question from Josh. When will
Yes.
resellers on this call be able to sell Surface via distance?
Oh, that is a good question.
Is that more of a Ben Brown question?
Yeah, I'd say that's definitely more of a Ben Brown question. I wonder if can we do details and get Ben to swing round?
Yeah, so I can relay that question to the relevant stakeholder and get back to you, Josh, if that's okay.
Yeah, or we can pop it in the chat for the call.
Cool. All right, just out of time, we'll just continue, but thank you so much, Venus, for your time. Ken, is it okay if you're able to share partner offers, partner enablement offers and updates, please?
Yeah, perfect. Can you guys hear me fine?
Yeah,
Yes.
perfect, thank you.
So just give me one moment to share my screen then. Okay, my screen should be sharing shortly. Thanks so much for having me again. And yeah, I just wanted to take some time here to share on some of the partner offers, well, specifically the offer that ACE Training, one of our managed partners for learning here in New Zealand, are generously sharing with the rest of the partner community as well. So upcoming on this, we do have a free workshops once again hosted by ACE Training, and these are fully free workshops really focused on some key topics around some Microsoft technologies that are really hot at the moment. So just to bear in mind, a lot of these workshops, target audience will be appropriate for people who already know a little bit about how Microsoft technologies work, and they really want to know more about these particular topics. Also really beneficial for anybody who has done fundamentals and they want to know what is the next step in learning more and understanding more about the Microsoft suite of technologies. Obviously, anyone here is free to attend, partners, even customers as well, to these sessions. So there are 4 different sessions on these from Microsoft Security, Compliance, and Identity, which actually covers some of the newer security stuff that we're doing as far as certifications go. So what we have done, if you have not heard, is that we have taken a lot of the security components of what Microsoft offers and taken it a little bit away from specifically things to do around Azure or Microsoft 365 and made it an independent course. So if you're really interested in how Microsoft talks about security and kind of how that fits in, that's the new competency that we're, certification we're building up here. And this particular free workshop will talk, it's a full-day workshop that will talk a little bit about that if you want to know more on what that is. On the 12th of May, there'll be the Microsoft Azure Architect Technology. So obviously that's for Azure architects looking to build, Azure solutions on our Azure platform. On the 31st of May, Azure Security Technologies. This is more to do with the technology specific to Azure around security. And on the 24th of June, it is designing and implementing a Microsoft AI solution. So anybody looking to do work around what we call our data and AI practice, definitely come across to this session because it'll be really, I think it'll be really beneficial for anybody here. So just moving on to the next slide here. So this is just a little bit of a screenshot of the link that you saw on the previous page. This is a little bit more information if you guys would like more information on what these workshops offer and what they're like. On these workshops, there will be a free lab demo as well around the afternoon. So this lab demo will basically have a demonstration on how these technologies work in practice, as well as we're giving free Microsoft curriculum for any attendee that takes on these workshops. Also, I'd like to note that that ACE Training, anybody who attends these sessions and they feel like, they want to know more and they want to learn more and they want to get a certification around it, ACE Training are also offering a 10% off on their courses on these. So, if this is something you are after, please take use of these offers to get yourself certified. Yeah, fully encourage it. definitely ACE Training is one of our best learning partners here in New Zealand. On the other side of things as well, one of the other changes we have made to the competency side of things for Dynamics 365 is that we have changed some of the requirements and how we are approaching Dynamics 365 to a completely kind of a new approach to it. Some of the details I would say are still being locked down here, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about the details of how that works today. But I do want to say that once again, ACE Training have prepared a new sort of offering here on the right hand side, as you can see. Sorry if the words are a little bit small, to help you and your organization and your people get certified and prepared for this new competency as it lands. So yeah, tons of information here on the side. Please take a look at it. And yeah, I think I'm almost done with my 5 minutes, Isaac. So I think I'll push it back to you here, Isaac, here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ken, for your time and for sharing those offers with our partners. I am aware that Padi said that he might be running a bit late, so I can't see him in the call. I am wondering if you'd be able to share your case study or your section, Ash, if that's okay. If you get pushed a little bit earlier, let me know if that's all good. Cool. Okay.
Just on the call.
Yeah. Just working. Sorry about that. I think Ash might be.
Is Tracy on the call?
Yeah, I am. I'm just trying to ping Ash for you.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just go. I think it's fine.
Hello, sorry about that.
Sorry about that, Ash. All good. So feel free to share whenever you're ready, and just to introduce yourself and your team.
Thanks, Ash.
Thank you. So sorry about that. And Isaac, sorry, are you going to give me control or do you want me to pull up the slides?
If you're able to share your own slides and go through at your own pace, that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. Just give me a second.
No rush.
Really nice to see so many familiar faces here, and thank you, Isaac and Olivia, for inviting me to come on today. I've been really looking forward to it. Just trying to get the deck up.
In the meantime, feel free to add any questions you have about any content that we've gone through today. Please feel free to ask questions and keep it active. We like having a lot of engagement, and we can always relay information back to the wider team if they're not present. So feel free to hit up the chat about anything. But otherwise, cool.
Sorry about this. I had thought you guys would have. Oh gosh. Okay, they're here. I am just trying to share my screen. Let's try one more time. Ah, there we
Okay,
go.
Ash, I'll just. Yep, cool. Sweet.
Do you have it now?
So, yeah, that looks great.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks so
For
much.
those of you that don't know me, I am Ashleigh, founder and CEO of Transcends. We're a channel partner marketing agency, which essentially means that we work exclusively with Microsoft partners in the channel on your digital marketing strategy. We do a lot of LinkedIn lead generation. We do a lot of Google AdWords, B2B content creation. And ultimately, our vision is to help humanity feel more connected through technology innovation. We're a value-centric organization, and the value of ours that I am personally most passionate around is diversity. And you can see the little Kiwi flag there. So as a company, we actually got our start in New Zealand. We have some team members on this call right now that are, I think actually everybody's in Queenstown at the moment, though normally they're spread out over the country. So we got our start in New Zealand, but we now have people across Australia. We do a lot of business in Asia, particularly Singapore, and I'm sitting in Seattle at the moment as I head up our North American business and consult into Microsoft here globally. So when it comes to diversity, and maybe the reason I instantly go to countries is, to me, our value of diversity has really enabled us to geo-expand as an organization and to help companies, a lot of Kiwi companies, actually expand into other markets across the globe. We are currently, or actually we are certified now as a We Connect diversity supplier, and we're working with Microsoft to be officially recognized as a diversity supplier, as well as we're a fully female-founded and female-funded organization. So really my expertise is in the go-to-market space. I do consult to Microsoft in the US for the last couple years now. I sit in the worldwide ISV team, which for those who are familiar is in Casey McGee's organization. And in that capacity, I lead strategy on a program called Assisted Growth. Some of you on the call actually might be a part of the program. So Assisted Growth has a goal for FY21 of driving about $750 million in Azure revenue for Microsoft. And as part of the team that leads this program, my specific role is go-to-market. So I thought one of the things that might be valuable for the partners on the phone today to share just really quickly, and if you're interested in a deeper dive, I'm happy to have kind of a one-to-one session with you. But this at a very quick glance is Microsoft's FY21 go-to-market strategy. So hopefully you can see the difference between the two colors there. You have a purple modernization conversation and then this dark blue digital transformation. So this is kind of the framework with which Microsoft came to the go-to-market lens. Modernization, I think about it very simply as a product-focused conversation. So you can modernize, for example, like collaboration tools. When it comes to digital transformation, it's much more macro and often is referring to something like an industry transformation. For FY21 globally, Microsoft had 5 industries prioritized: financial services, government, healthcare, manufacturing, and retail. Those do fall differently in different countries globally. For example, in New Zealand, you see a lot of ag tech, in Germany, automotive, but at a global level, that's kind of how Microsoft was organizing the business. I won't go into too much detail on the next couple lines, which is kind of around the sales plays, so the specific sales motions and how they align to those industries. But maybe we'll just look at the 3 core pillars, which are modern work, Azure, and business apps. Sometimes, depending on who you talk to, these are referred to as the 3 clouds. And when me or Transcends, when we engage with a partner, we really seek to understand kind of how your business maps to this framework, and we can definitely get into a lot more detail because it helps us to understand and position where your partner opportunities are for working more deeply with Microsoft, having them support your business and vice versa. I wanted to share some tangible takeaways. So I selected my personal top 3 GTM or go-to-market benefits. And there may be ones that aren't called out, or I don't see them called out by Microsoft as often. The first one is more common. So the first one I selected is the Smart Partner Marketing Center, and this box here is hyperlinked if you want a link to go to the site afterwards. I actually really like the Smart Partner Marketing Center, and in it there's a portion of marketing resources where you can go into a search tab and actually search something like modern workplace, for example, and what will come up are real assets like PowerPoint slides, PDFs, and these are editable documents that Microsoft shares with partners. I find the language in them can be really useful. I find the positioning, sometimes even the images, but it's all this kind of market-ready collateral that's sitting there just waiting to be used, and you can make adjustments too. Number 2 is the How to Market with Microsoft workshop. So this is a benefit that you can activate inside Partner Center. If you're set up in Partner Center, you can go under the Benefits tab and actually opt into this workshop. The reason I really like this workshop is it's a human being who gets on the phone with you from the worldwide partner marketing team, and they run you through the go-to-market benefits that are available to you, and then make recommendations that are unique to you and your organization of maybe what benefits you should consider activating first, second, and third. Lastly is actually, it would not be considered a GTM benefit from Microsoft, but I consider it one, and it's probably the one I've used by far the most. We use this in onboarding for every new Transcends team member, and that's the Microsoft Inspire session catalog. So Microsoft keeps a database of the previous year's recorded sessions from their annual partner conference. I think there was over 600 videos last time. And in this screenshot, I've just done a simple search of marketing, and you can see that the first video that comes up is actually around Microsoft's geo expansion program, which I'm going to touch on a little bit more today, and it's kind of why I opened with this value of diversity. But those videos are very topical. You know that the content was relevant, you know, a maximum of 12 months ago, and they're often just because it's individual speaking, people speaking, I just find you get a lot more insight and really good tips and tricks. I included a screenshot in here of how you can activate your, if anyone could hear the racing going outside my window, how you can activate your partner benefits inside Partner Center. Let's get digital. So as a digital marketing agency, I thought what would be valuable to share today is some of the ways in which we help partners like yourselves expand into new markets, specifically from a digital marketing perspective. So one of the things that's so important and simple, you might think, but gets missed a ton is localizing your content when you're doing international content. So many of you, we've worked with many Kiwi companies in order to get their AppSource and Azure Marketplace listings listed. And you just want to think about who really is the target audience. If you are targeting specifically into the US, you might want to consider using Zs instead of Ss. It's a very small thing. But as a North American who lived in New Zealand for many years, I know when I did it the opposite way, it was definitely noticed by many New Zealanders. So it's just little things like that. I've included a link here to Microsoft's Geo Expansion Agency Guide that you can see on the left. There's 4 featured agencies in the guide that can help you with your geo expansion. Transcends is one of them. So I sit on the Microsoft's Global Geo Expansion Council with 3 other terrific agencies. We work very collaboratively together. Those are York Group with Harold Hogan, if anybody is familiar, Paul Salsky of AIM International, and Steve Dawson of Asia Market Entry. So when it comes to localizing, I just thought I'd share a couple quick funny examples. So KFC in the 1980s, 1990s, anyways, going into China, and their slogan, finger licking good, which they did not do any translation on, ended up being translated as eat your fingers off. Funny enough, they did actually perform quite well in that market. This is an example of Pinto going down into Brazil in the car market. I won't say anything really about this, but I think you get the idea. So one of the places that I've already mentioned that it's important to customize your assets, your marketing assets to a local audience is Microsoft's Marketplace. We're continuing to see more and more emphasis by Microsoft on their commercial marketplaces just for So Microsoft often says marketplace. They're referring to one of 2 marketplaces typically, either AppSource or Azure Marketplace. The main difference between AppSource and Azure Marketplace is that AppSource is targeting an audience of a line of business users, so business customers, whereas Azure Marketplace is facing a developer, is more developer tools, developer audience. If you've seen kind of the facelift that AppSource has gone through recently, it's looking great. There is a new emphasis around industry verticalized solutions. So coming back to that earlier GTM framework by Microsoft, the better that you can align to that, it does cascade throughout the business. So you do see industry aligned solutions in here. We notice a huge pickup with our clients when we're able to get them into the featured apps section or the popular apps section. And at least for the featured apps section, there is now a nomination form where you can go in and nominate yourself to be a featured app. And for FY22, we're increasingly seeing a focus not just on the app side of AppSource and Azure Marketplace, but if you can see in the top left in the navigation bar, there are also consulting services. I love consulting services in AppSource. They're underutilized, so it's still a very competitive landscape. And that's where you can monetize your pre-sale activities like assessments, briefings, workshops, and get those listed in there. Definitely, if you have questions around this afterwards, feel free to ping me. I can do this session in a 2-hour workshop, and we've got 10 minutes. So I included a link here to the Marketplace Toolkit, lots of valuable resources, including a badge for your website if you don't already have that. One little thing to note is that you want to make sure that you're set up in Partner Center appropriately to receive leads. So we often use AppSource and Azure Marketplace as part of a geo expansion strategy for partners going into new markets. And when you're doing that, you want to make sure that you do have a country profile set up for that market that you're targeting. Otherwise, Microsoft's algorithms are not going to pick up on the fact that you're seeking to get leads in those particular markets. So in this example here, you can see that I have 2 company profiles set up, one in New Zealand and one in the United States. And this is under referrals business profile inside Partner Center, partner.microsoft.com. Here's an example of a Kiwi company that we worked with, Ashura. Hamish, I didn't see him on the call, and now I can't see the attendees at the moment, but if you're on here. So Ashura is an awesome example of a very values-aligned partner for Microsoft. They were selected to participate in the still ongoing Build for 2030 campaign. So this is a campaign by Microsoft to align to the UN sustainability goals. They've selected a series of Microsoft partners and have been featuring their apps in the marketplaces and also their stories more widely in press. And we just found this to have a huge impact for Ashura in terms of the traffic that they started to receive to their AppSource offer. So we, Transcends, created these AppSource offers in partnership with Ashura, and then within the first 6 months, they received 1,800 page visits and nearly 140 marketing qualified leads, which just gave a good boost to their partnership. In terms of Transcends, we are a global marketing services vendor to Microsoft, along with maybe a dozen other amazing marketing agencies. We are all listed together in the global services catalog. We currently have 4 services featured in that catalog. These are designed as sort of plug and play, easy to consume, do within a quarter, 90 days, and are a great way to test new markets, to test new product lines, or if you're just newer to digital marketing in general, to kind of give that a go and see what kind of results that you can get. So the first is our by far most popular Leads in a Box campaign. So that's where we pick a particular product or service. It could be an AppSource or Azure Marketplace listing, and we do a very targeted campaign, usually on Google Ads or LinkedIn. We do paid lead generation against that particular offering, and you end up with marketing qualified leads at the end of it. You can continue that process with a Nurture in a Box, where we go deeper to mature the leads that were created in a Leads in a Box or through some internal efforts of your own. And we're using more one-to-one techniques like email marketing, maybe LinkedIn conversation ads, and we're nurturing those through to a sales qualified lead. Next, we have account-based marketing, which is great if you're targeting enterprise customers and you know exactly who they are. Account-based marketing can be approach of one-to-many, so we're targeting many accounts, but we know which accounts, or it can be very, very deep and go one-to-one. And we've actually been doing a lot more of the one-to-one stuff even, just going really, really deep into one particular account. Lastly, which is new for us for FY22, is a digital sales call down. So basically telesales. The feedback we were getting from some partners is that while our campaigns were performing really well, we were getting all these leads, sometimes hundreds of leads. Many of our clients, Microsoft's partners, didn't have the in-house resource to be doing the following up in a timely fashion, actually getting on the phone, doing demos, and maturing those deals through. So we've now introduced this service for FY22. All right, that was the speed round, go to market. Anyone who's participated on this call today and you'd like us to do an audit, a free audit of an AppSource or Azure Marketplace listing that you have pre-existing, please just reach out to me, ash@transcends.ca. We want to make that available to everybody on this call. And then I've just included again on this last page here, links to both Microsoft's Geo Expansion Agency Guide and Marketing Services Catalog. And just as a quick note on the Geo Expansion program, you can self-nominate into the program if you haven't already. Highly, highly recommend it if you're looking to do business anywhere outside of New Zealand. And the program provides you digital resources like webinars and toolkits and guides, but there's also opportunity to get more in-depth support as well through that program. But you first need to nominate yourself in a geo expansion assessment. All right.
Thank you so much, Ash. Thank you for joining us from your evening in Seattle, and hopefully that was a lot of information. So hopefully everyone got some value from some of that. So thank you very much to you and Transcends. Jumping over to Padi. You're on mute, Padi.
There we go. That helps if I press unmute, doesn't it? How are we going? Wow, this new Teams feature thing's a bit weird. Thanks so much. Let's sort of jump in today. Have I got 10 minutes still, Olivia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, then let me just see if I can find my screen. Here we go. Hey, so great to be back on today. I hope you can all hear and see the prezzo at the moment. I'm just going to talk to you about a bit of a new part of my role as part of APAC and help you understand, I guess, the positioning and the thinking around Azure Hybrid today. So you might be going, why the hell is Padi talking about hybrid when we've got a data center region coming? Well, actually, the reality is it's still very relevant, and I'm going to give you a bit of a positioning statement around how we're thinking about Azure today as well, because in reality, a lot of the market data is telling us while public cloud is definitely, I guess, best in breed and the best practice to get the most for customers to modernize and I guess innovate and land the right solutions for their own organizations to improve operations and customer insights and everything and work for employees better. There are factors that will mean that some customers cannot put certain things into public cloud whether we want to or not. And I guess the other reality is in New Zealand, there's a lot of customers who are thinking about what do I do in the short term before the region comes? How do I sort of mitigate that? But how do I take that first stepping stone to get to public cloud when I maybe don't want to put something offshore, or I've got existing investment in CapEx or hardware assets, and how does it work? And so I wanted to give you some perspective on what hybrid is from an Azure perspective and how we're thinking about it. So I think the first thing is just to sort of back up some of the data. From a New Zealand perspective, this is actually IDC data where we've assessed the market and understood what their preference is for cloud and where they're going. I guess the great thing is that at least 40% are thinking of cloud first, or another 20% thinking of cloud also. And of course, a large portion of the market is thinking about the best fit. In other words, what's the right cloud solution for what they're trying to deliver? It may be down to a certain workload. And then when we see from that cloud first preference, it's across PaaS, SaaS, and infrastructure as a service. So that's kind of telling us that there's, that it's pretty consistently going to be spread across different areas. And then thinking about that into more detail, by customer size, from a public cloud perspective, it's pretty evenly split as well in terms of how organizations are splitting out their deployments, whether it's public, private, on-premises, whatever. And so this is giving us some pretty good insights into how the market is thinking locally. And we've also got pretty similar data from APAC and up in Japan as well, as organizations at various levels are contemplating hybrid or a multi-cloud strategy. So multi-cloud being not just in multiple public cloud providers, but also on-premises versus public. But one of the biggest challenges for organizations is the interoperability or the management of that. How do you manage on-premises, public cloud, private cloud, various public cloud providers, etc., to help with that? And so this is becoming a bit of a blocker for organizations, but at the same time, they know that they may want to go down the hybrid multi-cloud strategy because of low latency applications, backup and disaster recovery. Maybe they're managing edge sites. They're bringing in solutions such as Azure Stack Edge, which is an AI compute at the edge solution, or they've got IoT devices, or they just don't want to put it offshore for whatever reason, cultural sovereignty or whatever it might be. And in APAC, it's more around data sovereignty. So if you're in Malaysia, they don't want to put it into Singapore, but in New Zealand, it's more around cultural sovereignty more than anything else. So how does an organization take that stepping stone forward? Well, how we're thinking about hybrid now is public cloud, best in breed, best practice, get customers set up in public cloud where you can. But then what if I could tell you as partners, you could generate additional consumption and therefore incentives on Azure if you were landing other hybrid solutions. So hopefully some of you have heard of what's called Azure Arc, which is this single control plane or a window, if you will, where you can manage on-premises, AWS, Google Cloud, VMware, and public cloud, and all your edge devices, and any Azure Stack solutions, all through one pane of glass called Azure Arc. And that makes that interoperability and that management and governance, and very importantly, that consistency of security across the entire infrastructure estate very, very much easier to manage. And that makes it a holistic and agnostic cloud rather than just public cloud in terms of one context and only working for Microsoft. So it opens up the door to a greater customer-orientated solution where we're trying to work with customers on what's the right cloud solution for the customer. How do you manage it all? How do you bring Azure services through that control plane to any infrastructure and therefore innovate anywhere? So what does that look like? So if you haven't heard about Azure Arc, it's also free to actually set up on your environment. And then as you start to add more solutions to it, that's when you start charging for Azure services. So first and foremost, this Azure Arc enabled infrastructure means that governance, security management, getting your role-based access controls set up, and that could run across any infrastructure. Soon to be GA, but currently in public preview, is be able to bring SQL managed instance and Postgres databases onto any infrastructure through Azure Arc. So keeping your data in country, but bringing Azure services from a PaaS perspective onto any infrastructure. And you'll be able to, and now available is being able to build cloud native applications using GitOps and deploy those into any infrastructure through Azure Arc as well. So all of these generate consumption of the platform. So from a partner perspective, to help you understand that, it drives Azure consumption revenue, but at the same time makes it easier for the customer to manage and govern across any estate. There's also a new solution coming out in private preview now, which is what if you could take Azure Machine Learning and bring that on premises as well. And so that's think about keeping in that compute anywhere, but bringing those AI machine learning capabilities through. So just quickly, with 2 minutes to go on Arc and Hybrid, think about Arc as you've got your customer servers, you deploy Arc for no additional cost, get your role-based access controls, tagging, etc. set up, and then start to apply Azure Monitor, Azure Defender, Security, Sentinel, Backup, DR, GitOps with Kubernetes onto that infrastructure, and that is where the meters tick over. And that can, when you think about what customers have and how much we're leaving behind when we migrate customers to cloud, it makes it so much easier for the customer and great for you in terms of managing. You can actually integrate it with what's called Azure Lighthouse as well as a solution. So as a partner, you can manage multiple customers through one tenant effectively, but have multiple tenants underneath that. And then I'll just quickly talk about, with 1 minute to go, the Azure Stack solution. So new to market is Azure Stack HCI, which is hyperconverged infrastructure that you turn on through the Azure portal, and that ticks the Azure meters through that mechanism. It's using storage spaces direct and storage networking solutions, and that enables customers to actually run anything on a VM, anything in a container on this appliance, and then apply those Azure services, those Azure native services, so it runs through ARM templates onto this infrastructure, which again ticks over the environment, it ticks over consumption meters. So when you think about Azure Stack and Hybrid all up, think about it as Azure Arc managing the overall estate, not just on premises, but everything, and not just public cloud. You've got a range of hardware solutions from Azure Stack HCI. This is a software that you can download now onto infrastructure that runs software-defined networking, and then run your containers or your VMs on top of that with applications, and then through Windows Admin Center, you can connect all that up and generate backup and DR and Azure Monitor solutions. So that's a quick snapshot within 10 minutes, I'm afraid, to give you some insight into Hybrid. There's a couple of sessions and webinars coming up from the likes of Indy. You can also look for our virtual training days. There's one on Hybrid, managing our hybrid infrastructure and deployment. It'll go through all this as well. So that is me in a very quick whirlwind session.
Thank you so much, Padi. And I'll grab those slides off you afterwards so I can post it on Yammer and maybe people can read through in their own time.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, awesome. All right, team. Thank you so much to all our presenters today. I don't think we'll have enough time for Q&A. So if you do have any questions, just pop them in the chat and we can follow up later. But thank you so much for tuning in and all our presenters for covering their content. Sweet.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Cheers.